But in the end, what really matters is that we need the innovation in order to drive the productivity growth that we will need in order to get to the objectives that we want, decarbonization, that we want economic growth, and that we want strategic autonomy.
Simply, let's face it. When we look at private R&D takes place in incumbent companies that have been existed for decades, for even centuries. And they have made of the innovation process a kind of routinized process, really plannable process where you come up continuously with improvements, but they are probably only incremental. But there's not so much room for really radical new.
There are thousands of fantastic ideas everywhere coming out of the research institutions and elsewhere, but an idea is only of very limited value because we need to turn them into innovation. And for an idea to become innovation, or for an invention to become innovation, we've got to commercialize. And that's what we're not doing very well. You mentioned the case of BioNTech being an exception, and indeed it is an exception. We need a lot more of that coming out of the institutions.
There is a lot of good stuff. I mean, we have about 3,000 startups across Europe applying each year, and we've been doing this for about 5 years. Every year, the quality of these startups is getting better and better. So, I mean, we see a big sort of change on the positive side about the startup ecosystem, but will any of these turn into big companies in the new technology area?
Should we focus on specific technologies or fields? We at Sprint are extremely skeptical about that approach. I think public sector guidance, or let alone governmental guidance of which technological sectors we should be in, is a recipe for disaster. And I think it should be left up to the actual players on the ground.
You need a system approach, and that needs a top-down strategy. So I personally think you need both. You need the bottom-up bit where you follow the market, you follow the ideas, you back the winners, but at some point when you need system changes, you do need a top-down strategy.
We should spend public research money mission-oriented so that it benefits societal goals and do it then technological open. So we know in Europe how to produce industrial robots, because this is the art of our engineers. It is mostly about mechanics. And these industrial robots, they operate in cages with no human-machine interaction. What we are probably not so good in is producing the next generation smart robots that act in human-machine interaction. Why? Because you don't need only mechanics, where we are super good, but you also need sensors. Well, others are probably better, and you need AI.
The key issue is for new company startup, you need more risk capital, equity, right? And that is the part which is not absent, which is very low in Europe, partially because our institutional investors pay a high price for doing so.
Pension funds.
Pension funds. So the simple measure would be to say pension funds, insurance companies are allowed to invest a certain percentage of their total assets in equity in general and venture capital in particular, without having to secure that with 100% capital. This was done in the US in the 70s and 80s, and many people date the beginning of the VC scene, the venture capital scene in the US, to that innovation.